Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Joe Tyrrell and welcome back to the Runoff, the GP Blog podcast. It's Italian Grand Prix week. We've been at Monza, but a change of location hasn't provided a change of race winner. Cameron, you're joining me this week. Toby's off. We can't get a full week where we're all together, but you're back off your holidays. I hope you had a good time and welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back. It was a nice time away, nice sunny weather. But yeah, back. I managed to watch both the Grand Prix while I was away, and obviously sailed back in for this one. And I think the scenario is a bit of a shame that we just expect a driver starting seventh just to win, even though he's starting seventh now. And like it's
Yeah,
just happened. Like it's just been stupid. But
I remember sitting there at the start of the race thinking, I still can't see anything other than a Max Verstappen win, and that's exactly what we got. Even with the potential late drama, I don't think it would have changed the result. I still think he would have won.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's a shame. I wish we'd seen like a Abu Dhabi style last lap, or even just like a Baku 2021 when we had the red flag and the standing start. Like if that had happened, it would have been a great ending. I would have seen some racing because like again, like Leclerc and Verstappen were one and two, but like we just didn't see them like at all
yeah,
like battle. Like there was no like over
because
Verstappen
they
didn't have
sort of
to
pitted
overtake him
at
on
different
track.
times.
Yeah, Verstappen didn't have to overtake him to win the race, like on track, and so it's just a bit like demoralizing. Really, you don't even see
Yeah.
that. Like you expect him to win, but you expected him to like at least overtake Leclerc, and that
So
didn't
if
happen.
so if for some reason you haven't watched the Italian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen has won yet another race, and as Cam said, he didn't even have to overtake Charles Leclerc on track to win it because of the way things fell. And I feel like we were sort of denied a big chance of a big finish in the end, of which the race needed because it was a pretty underwhelming race.
Yeah, I think obviously we saw what happened at Abu Dhabi, a safety car type last lap showdown, and it had a lot of criticism. So maybe that was something that played on the minds of those in charge. But I guess it's slightly different circumstances that was the title and whatever, and this was just like Verstappen's realistically already won the title. We just want to see some action. The fans just don't want to see like a safety car ending, just like a finish with just under safety car conditions. It's just not really the entertainment that you want from the sport, especially when you've just had the most predictable outcome of Verstappen just getting through the field so easily. Like he got up to fourth after lap one. Like I was sitting watching it and I was like, just before it started, I was like, right, well Verstappen's going to win, and he's not just going to win. Like he's going to be like fourth at turn one or something, and it was fourth after lap one, and I'm like. It's like by that time, like he's barely even lost any ground, and it's just a bit ridiculous. And like fair play to him. Like I mean, I can't begrudge him from driving really well, but it's just a bit demoralizing that you're seeing someone just consistently, what, three times now come from like a poor starting
Well, where did he
position to
start? He
then just
started
win the
14th
race.
in Belgium, was it?
Yeah, and then 10th in
Um,
Hungary one. And it's like both like and then seventh here. And it's
and
like
it's not as if they're like dramatic turnarounds, whereas Hamilton's when he came from the back of the grid in Brazil last year, where he had to really fight for it, it's done by the time we're at a quarter of the race.
that's that's the thing that is even more frustrating, I think, to watch. Honestly, if you're a Verstappen fan, you're obviously loving it. But if you have a driver that's in a quicker car, like they should come through the field. Like I know Verstappen started way further up the field than Sainz did, but Sainz was picking his way through, but it still took him several laps to get through. And I know Verstappen had far less people to clear in this race, but in races previously too, it just seems to happen so quickly. Like he started 14th at Spa and then was past everyone like 10 laps in or something. And it's like such a quick turnaround. Like even here, like seventh, you'd hope that Ferrari and Leclerc would have enough pace that you could go deep into the race where Verstappen's still chasing. You would have like a nice ending where Verstappen's still chasing the whole Leclerc, but it was just done really, really early. And Ferrari sort of resigned to that fate, trying to do something different by pitting Leclerc under the virtual safety car, and it didn't really work out. But they have to try something really because Verstappen's just too quick.
It's becoming a regular occurrence now, these Max Verstappen discussions, that he's in a car which is just way too good and he himself is just way too good. And the combination makes for a pretty devastating result if you're a Red Bull driver, sorry, or a Red Bull mechanic or a Red Bull fan. It really does. It's a little bit demoralizing at this point because
It must
I,
be for like even for like Leclerc, like the start of
yeah,
the season, Leclerc's like, oh, I've won Bahrain, like This is my time, and then it's just see Verstappen just winning races, even though he's got good penalties like all the time.
It really is the hope that gets you, isn't it?
Yeah, Verstappen might just tell Red Bull, just give me a 5 place grid penalty every week. I have a new ICE or whatever, and I'll just have a bit of fun because otherwise I'm driving off into the distance from P1. I might as well just have a bit of fun and try and overtake someone.
Well, he could like win the. They said on commentary that he can win the title in Singapore in 2-3 weeks time, which just seems absurd that it's a race weekend which starts in September and finishes in early October. That must be like one of the earliest in sort of these recent in modern history, earliest like date wise.
Especially
that the title's been won.
Date wise, because we finished quite early this year, but also just in terms of like the fact that it looked like it wasn't like he ran away with it from the start, like we've maybe seen in the past from drivers, but it looked like a close fight. Like Leclerc was there, Leclerc was winning the championship. It looked like there was going to be a battle up until.
Well, I say every week it looked like I said Leclerc's lead was insurmountable, and I looked very, very silly. But that's not a surprise.
Got
yeah,
got ahead
it's
of
just
ourselves in the Ferrari hype.
Yeah. Quickly, we'll mention a man who made his F1 debut this weekend, Nick De Vries. He filled in at Aston Martin in FP1, and he had a really good weekend. We'll talk about him more in our winners and losers, but he had a really, really good weekend. And most importantly, it was the best possible job application, really, for him, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally, like if you're Nicholas Latifi, like you are seriously, seriously worried after this weekend. Like I think you were worried before coming into this weekend, even just generally about your seat for next year. But for Nick De Vries, obviously a rookie, came in. Obviously, De Vries beat Latifi when they were in F2 together. When De Vries won the title, Latifi came third, I think, and then got promoted to Williams that year because obviously, he brings a bit of this with him. And then obviously De Vries won Formula E, but then this year in Formula E, like he was completely outshone by Stoffel Van Dorn, who maybe didn't have the best F1 career.
Yeah.
And so you're maybe thinking like, and he's also 27, and he was in Formula 2 when Norris, Albon, Russell were there when they all got promoted, and like he wasn't really too close to them. And so he's 27. He's been beaten by Van Dorn this year. Like he's not that good a driver. Like I think he's clearly a very good driver. You don't just win Formula 2 and win Formula E if you're a bad driver, but he's not like a special caliber of driver that's perhaps like that year of Formula 2 that he won was not that great.
It was a pretty
But then
underwhelming
for
year,
Latifi,
wasn't it?
and then for Latifi to be beaten by him, like it's not like he's been beaten by like Russell coming in at Williams on like his first weekend and winning. Like it's by De Vries, who's like good
In a
driver,
car
but
he's not driven.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know he's but like he's in an Aston Martin before. Like it's not like he did it FP1 in a Williams. Like he was in another team, like a completely different car. And then it's just I don't know. Latifi must be thinking, this doesn't look good on me because it doesn't.
No, it doesn't look good on him at all.
But shout out to Latifi, De Vries, fair play, getting points. Sorry, I just sort of delved into
a great result for him, and we wish Alex Albon a speedy recovery. He's got 3 weeks to recover before Singapore. He's got appendicitis, so can't imagine he's particularly comfortable right now. But his seat is secure. It's Latifi who has to worry. So we'll move on now to those winners and losers, and we might as well just go into a bit more detail on De Vries, just briefly, because he is, Cam, your winner this week, isn't he?
Yeah, I think for the reasons you mentioned earlier, just coming into a seat on what was it, just like so late, you would have gone to bed
3 hours notice.
Yeah, literally gone to bed on Friday night or Saturday night, thinking Friday night thinking, oh, I've just I've done my Aston Martin. I'll watch it with Toto Wolff next to me in the Mercedes garage, and then he's called up for Williams, and of course scenarios did help him in the race because of the grid penalties that meant that his qualifying position got bumped up, but he still beat Latifi in qualifying, which is a feat in itself. Like he made his own luck really because he got bumped up so many places because he had a pretty decent qualifying, and then was just running in the points consistently, and like he was hanging on to the back of like the McLarens and Pierre Gasly. Like he wasn't there by luck. Like,
I think he had a good
scrap
with he had a good scrap with Gasly, didn't he? I remember at one point Gasly passed him, but then Latifi just came back at him. De Vries came back at him.
Yeah, there was a couple of really good battles. I remember Guan Yu Zhou sort of attacking him, and De Vries held on, and yeah, really encouraging for him wanting to get a seat in Formula One, which I'm sure he does. And yeah, a drive like that, getting points on like your F1 debut, and not just an F1 debut, but an F1 debut you didn't expect to get, is really impressive coming in at such short notice. And yeah, Nick De Vries, this gives me more like confidence that he will get a seat next year, because people can look at that result, and Williams especially will look at that result and go, wow, he's better than the other option we have in the team that's not Alex Albon. So
Yeah. Well, we might as well stick on the same subject of Williams then. And my loser, actually, who is undoubtedly Nicholas Latifi, that couldn't have gone much worse for him. The expectations are low at Williams, but when you're up against a driver who's a rookie in the car, in the sport, effectively, you expect to beat him. And not only did he get out qualified, he got beaten in the race, and he got beaten pretty comprehensively. Like Nick De Vries P9, Nicholas Latifi P15. I know a few of our journalists have already said it. That might be the last we see of Nicholas Latifi in an F1 car.
yeah, potentially. I mean, it makes me think of Russell going to Mercedes for that one race in 2020 and showing up Bottas. But this is even more extreme, because obviously Bottas beat him in qualifying and then lost out in the race. De Vries did double over Latifi, and also Russell had like F1 experience and was like hyped as this really great talent, having won Formula 2 and everything like that. Like he was like the Mercedes seat. He's like, that's your seat to go and get, and people expected Russell to do really well. Whereas De Vries, it was probably like a free hit. Like he could have just done anything, and people wouldn't have expected much from him. And he just goes and shows Latifi up, and yeah, Latifi must be thinking this is not good, because it isn't good.
No, it's not good.
It's a shame,
And this
because
season
I
has
would
been
have.
particularly poor for him, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think
Like
I saw.
this is his
Yes,
third
I think they
season
said
now.
on comment. Yeah, it's just like I think they said on commentary that De Vries is in that race ran more laps inside the top 9 or something than Latifi's done all year. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not good. Not good for
You sort of give
Nicholas.
the first year, you give him the benefit of the doubt. His first season was the COVID year, the big COVID year. So it's like, all right,
Yeah,
he gets that one off. And then last year, I thought there were sprouts of improvement, actually. I sort of
yeah,
thought
Hungary.
he's starting to, a bit like Lance Stroll did, he sort of built into his role. He got a bit more used to Formula One. And then he got Williams' first points. It was like, yeah, he's really improving. And then this season, he's bottom of the leaderboard with 0 points, apart from Hulkenberg, who obviously hasn't
And
raced
it's
since race week 2.
21st in a 20 driver championship, as people are pointing out, which I think is a bit harsh, because there's
Well,
been
that's why it's the
more
same
than
same
20
problem we had
drivers.
with Mazepin last year, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Um,
it's not really got any validity to it, because there's been more than 20 drivers driving. But yeah, it's not a good look that De Vries has come in and scored points and
yeah,
he hasn't.
yeah. So he's the loser this week. Cam, we'll stick with losers and we'll finish on a high. Who is your loser this week?
It's going to be Aston Martin, because they didn't finish the race. Like, Stroll and Vettel both retired, and that's
I
about all
didn't
you
even
can say,
realize Stroll
really.
retired actually.
Yeah. So just pretty poor weekend. I mean, they've had a pretty poor season.
Yeah,
You could hear Vettel's frustration again on the radio when he got knocked out in Q1. Like he was like, no. And I feel like I'm hearing that every single race. He gets knocked
yeah.
out in Q1 in like 17th place, and he's like, why? Why are we so slow? But normally they have race pace, and then you'd hope that Sunday would recover it, and it didn't. So it's
Seb was out before the race really got going, wasn't he?
yeah, it's just a bit of a shame, but
I really hope
yeah,
Seb gets
I mean,
one
it's
big
a poor
result
weekend.
before the
Like
end of
you,
the season.
yeah, I said that, didn't I? I want a
Yeah,
to podium or a win, but yeah, Aston Martin it was
much like the
not a good
season.
weekend.
Yeah, much like the season in general. I just feel like their campaign is petering out. They've not got anything to play for. What are they playing for now? Like, where are
Yeah,
they in the
literally.
standings?
Yeah, it's just really
They're
really
second bottom
poor.
in the
And
standings.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 retirements. The drivers didn't finish the race, so they have to be a loser in my view.
Yeah, no, absolutely spot on. Big losers are Aston Martin, but a winner from me is Carlos Sainz, and particularly Carlos Sainz from the first 10 laps of the Italian Grand Prix because he was absolutely flying and he was
Yeah,
cutting his way
he
through the
was.
field. And it's obviously different scenarios. Hamilton is in a Mercedes, which is slightly slower, started further back. But Sainz cut his way through the field really impressively in that opening stint. And Hamilton, it took a little while to get going. But I'd say that's a real confidence booster for Sainz, who's not always had it easy in recent months, to just put on that display. He was almost the eye-catching driver in that first quarter, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure, he definitely was. Pulled the same move off about 10 times into turn one, just down the inside.
Yeah.
And yeah, impressive. Like, he looked absolutely rapid. Like, he was flying. And fair play to me. I mean, he had to do that. He had to make up races, and he did. So he did his job. And did it really, really well. And I hope that, I hope Ferrari can get a win before the end of the season. I hope it's not just Max Verstappen, but I hope Carlos can get back up to winning a race. Obviously, he's only had one so far in his career, and obviously only one this year. So, but yeah, encouragement for Carlos. It's just that next step of, overtaking cars that are slower than you it's not the most difficult, thing to do, but it's starting at the front and staying at the front that is what really matters, and that's the next step, I guess.
It gave the Ferrari fans in Italy something to cheer about in that first few minutes because
There was something, yeah.
they were booing at the end, given the finish. And I'd say they're probably losers this week, the Ferrari fans and the Italian fans, because they always come out. I think they said over 350,000 fans this week. They've come out in masses and they've been treated to a safety car finish. So they
Yeah, they
are,
were
I
few.
would
I
say,
mean,
losers.
I was annoyed that it was a safety
Yeah,
car finish, and I'm sure the fans that have paid good money to go and watch it and were mouth watering at the prospect of having a Leclerc Verstappen like 2-lap showdown or
yeah,
something with Leclerc following down the straight, and it didn't happen.
absolutely. The fans at Monza are losers this week. But we'll move on now to the next race, which we've actually got quite a big break now. We're going to Singapore next. When did we last go to Singapore? Did we go there
Must have
last
been
season?
2019. No, it must have been 2019 before COVID.
Yeah, I was going to say 2019. What actually happened on that occasion?
Was that when I feel like Vettel won, didn't he? Didn't it? Wasn't it a Ferrari
Yeah,
one?
that's when
Ferrari one
they
too?
pitted, the two Ferrari drivers pitted, and
I think it
Leclerc
was.
wasn't happy, was he?
No.
Yeah, they pit, and Leclerc wanted to swap the places over because Ferrari made a mess of the
Yeah.
pit stop, and they ended up getting a 1-2, didn't they? But it should have been the other
Yeah.
way around, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a
But
1-2. I was just double checking, and Max finished at the podium. No Mercedes on the podium. Albon
yeah,
finished sixth. Oh, he's in Red Bull.
it was in a
I
Red
thought it
Bull.
was,
Yeah,
thought it was when he was still at Toro Rosso. I was like, wow. But yeah, no. And then obviously the year before that was when Raikkonen, Verstappen had that crash off the line.
oh, was it?
2018.
That was
Yeah.
one. That's one of my favorite. It's obviously not nice seeing crashes, but that is a pretty iconic crash. Those three just side by
Yeah, it
side,
is.
all the sparks in the air.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm hoping for a good race at Singapore, but we'll see.
Yeah, anything under the lights, I'm always optimistic for.
Yeah, I quite like it.
Prediction
I like
time.
a night race.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Night races are good. I'm trying to think of what other ones have we got?
Got
Qatar,
Bahrain starts.
Bahrain.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I think Singapore is the best. Like in terms of visuals wise,
Yeah.
Singapore is the best race.
Yeah, sure.
Prediction time, Cam. Where do we stand? You've been away for 2 weeks, but you've kept us posted and you've kept a track of all of the results. How are we looking on the prediction
Yeah.
front?
Well, I can inform you that you had a very good week this week,
I needed it because I've had some awful weeks.
and it's meant big news that you've got top of the leaderboard. Basically.
What did I can't even. Yeah, this is the problem. I can't even remember what I predicted.
So we all three of us predicted Max win, Max to win and Max to be on pole. So we got 1 point for that because obviously he didn't get pole position. So we all got 1 point for that, bumped up. I predicted that McLaren wouldn't score points because I saw their straight line speed at Spa and thought that is not going to
Oh,
happen.
that was close. Where did Norris finish in the end?
But they were both, they were pretty decent to be fair.
Norris, so they were on for a double points finish. I actually felt a bit sorry for Ricardo in the end.
Yeah, it looked
Decent
like
race.
he was having he had a pretty decent qualifying. I mean, it's weird to think that Daniel Ricciardo seven-time race winner being, 3 tenths off Lando, I think it was, is a good qualifying session, but that's what it's been. Like, that's a really
Yeah.
good qualifying session for him now. So, fairs. So I got that wrong. So 1 point for me. Toby predicted that there'll be two Alpines in top eight, which didn't happen. So yeah, only 1 point for him. But you, I mean,
What did I predict?
I wasn't here to adjudicate this surprise, but you predicted that there'd be an Alpha Tauri in the top eight, and there was. Pierre Gasly finished eighth. So you've
Oh,
got 4 points this
yes.
weekend. So top of the
Yes.
leaderboard is you, Joe, with 11 points. Toby's
Oh, that's a
second with
big
10,
jump.
and then I'm last on 9. So
I've almost
it's
doubled my
all to
points.
play for. Yeah, all to play for.
Yeah, certainly all to play for. So Toby isn't here this week. He's not well. We'll let him off. He always seems to have a cold, but he isn't here this week. But he has sent us some predictions, hasn't he?
He
Um,
has. Yeah,
do you
let
want
me
to run
grab
them
them.
through them because I can't find
Yeah. Yes. Well, he's done the most obvious thing that someone would
them?
do. Predicting Formula One right now, he's predicted Max Verstappen to win the race from pole position. And a surprise is quite a nice one. I didn't quite understand it when he first said it, but his surprise is that Nick De Vries will be racing for Williams, not Nicholas Latifi, at Singapore. I thought he meant for next year, and I was like, that doesn't make much sense
Yeah.
for the race prediction. But yeah, for Singapore Grand Prix, Toby's surprise is that Nick De Vries will be driving for Williams instead of Nicholas Latifi. So I quite
I
like
mean,
that.
there's 3 weeks to make it happen.
Yeah, that
I
is
think that's a
true, but
decent
it does
prediction.
depend if Albon recovers. Um,
Yeah.
hope, Hopefully he
Is
does for
it is it
Toby's
Nick De
sake
Vries
and
to
for
replace? It is De Vries to replace Latifi.
to replace Latifi, not just De Vries to race. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did double check that. Yeah. Do you want to go for yours, mate?
I'm gonna go. So we're racing around Singapore. I'm gonna go. You know what? I fancy Mercedes for a George Russell pole.
You just fancy Mercedes every week, mate.
George Russell pole. Max Verstappen win.
Yep.
Um, unless there's a big crash off the line, of course. But no, Max Verstappen win. George Russell pole. And surprise. You know what? I'm gonna go with an Aston Martin top six.
Wow, that's big, really big.
I think Seb's gonna roll back the years.
What about the years? Yeah, I can see it. I can see
Yeah,
it. Nice predictions. I'm gonna go a bit more basic with just copy Toby basically.
yeah. I
Verstappen
don't
to
blame
win
you at
from
all
pole.
either.
I feel like this is our chance to gain a point on you. Verstappen pole, Verstappen win, and surprise will be that Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly both score top 9 finishes. I would say top 10 just points, but I'll say top 9 to make it a bit more surprising. Both in the
Yep.
top 9.
Well, that sounds very, very good indeed. And you'll probably be right because let's be real, Max is going to be probably the quickest car there. Although his qualifying and practice pace isn't always there, but because they always set him up for the race, don't they? And he's always a second a lap quicker.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if
Whereas
he's from pole or if he's from 20th. He'll
no,
probably still win, even though it's at Singapore and street circuit. He'll probably still win from 20th. But yeah,
yeah. Well, Cameron, thank you for joining me for this episode of the runoff. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time, isn't it? We've got a bit of an extended break. I think this is the period where the Russian Grand Prix would have fitted in. So now they've just not got a race to fit
yeah,
it. So we've not
yeah,
got
makes sense.
any racing now for 3 weeks. It's a chance for the drivers to have a little bit of a break. But we will be back in 3 weeks, the weekend of the 30th of September, for the Singapore Grand Prix. Thank you for joining me, Cam. Until then, we'll catch you next time.